feel like this is pretty quintessential British, right? Nice cottages, little lazy rivers, little streams. Now, getting back to the subject at hand, you might be thinking, well, Max, it seems a bit weird. You've grown a business to where we are today, growing 24% month on month, high churn, yes, but luckily growth is kind of covering that as we figure out the PLG strategy, albeit we're turning that off, as you know. And why are you kind of going away from being this social signal sales platform to being a social intelligence platform? Well, there are two reasons, I think, are the most primary reasons, with one caveat. One, the data that we're collecting across LinkedIn, Reddit, YouTube, podcasts, Substack now, X, is far more valuable than the way that just salespeople would use us. So there's a lot more value to be had there, and they're using us in a way that is not the way that we envision the platform being used, albeit very, very, very well, and they're getting great results. But there's a shelf life to how long you can do that strategy for. You know, if you become incredibly successful as a business, which we are miles away from doing it, but if everyone starts doing it, it loses its potency. Sorry, it's a bit windy. Hope you can hear me still. Bring you closer. So that's the first reason, is more or less it's a very crowded space and everyone's going to start to do the same thing as a lot of these tools start to try and mirror each other, which is what we're already doing. I'm not saying we invented social signal at all, but I really feel like we pushed the pedestal of it, and a lot of companies have followed suit as well and pushed the pedestal, which obviously they're entitled to. Again, I'm not saying we invented it, I'm just saying that we really marketed the hell out of it. And then if we look at the social intelligence space, it's so ripe for the taking. It's 80 to 85% of the players out there have been around a very long time, maybe IPO'd, legacy-based, built on a legacy infrastructure, and very much designed around a volume-based mentality and approach. So by introducing this level of agents and an orchestration system into the platform, it becomes something entirely new and entirely different that the social intelligence world hasn't ever done before or seen before when it comes to CMOs and marketing directors and people like that having a look at what we do. The other is all of these social intelligence tools have tried to go into the sales space, have tried to go into the product space and get outside of the marketing to make their deal sizes bigger. And all of them have failed to really blend the technologies together. And I feel like, given we actually started in sales, which is more of a challenging, more of a competitive space, and we've seen some good success out of this, it's a really interesting avenue. And I think it's going to really prove to be quite beneficial, because if we can crack marketing and crack product, then we've kind of gone across all avenues and all departments in a way that no other social intelligence tool has done. So that's the theory, that's the rationale. Caveat being is, yes, we're going away from sales, but in the long term, the use case for sales is still there. We're just not really marketing it as much anymore. Now, the real question is, does the value lie in an orchestration system, or does the value lie in the insights that we will provide? That I don't have the answer for. You've used the orchestration to get the insights, and then we'll know where to go from there. But I think we've got something really exciting brewing here that no other social listening platform is doing, and they're all built in a way that they'll never be able to do it. And yeah, I think we could be onto something here with next-gen social listening. Anyway, in other news, I'm down in Wales, which, if you're from the US, I should say I'm up in Wales because I live down in Cornwall. I live in the very bottom of the UK, right at the very, very bottom. And Wales is all the way on the left-hand side. And my wife, well, she's Welsh. And if you don't know Great Britain that well, they speak a different language, they sound differently, and it's a bit of a different culture. It's kind of crazy in the UK that you can drive 5 minutes and something is entirely different accents, different everything. Literally, you can drive 10, 20 minutes down the road and everything is entirely different. But this place, it's stunning. So why would sales use us? Well, probably where we've most been known for, which is sales. And here's the thing with sales. When it comes to social media, you want to understand anytime someone is engaging with content that is relevant to the business problem that you're trying to solve, and using that relevancy as the time to reach out. So for example, if I know that Joe Blogs is engaged with content around MarTech stuff, maybe it's around social listening, kind of content, right? How to use social listening, when to use it, so on and so on. Maybe that's through engaging with competitors, engaging with your own own brand, or just generally engaging with thought leaders. And if they've engaged with it where it's increasing month on, month out, and maybe 6-7 times in the last week, then when they go and visit a website or get a funding round or whatever you would typically overlay on top when it comes to signals, it's safe to say that they're going to be interested in speaking to you. And that is how a lot of people are already using us and getting incredible conversion rates as a result. So really what you're trying to understand is it's a level of pre-intent data by understanding interests, right? And that's what social media gives you best.
It like released in a series, or like was it just kind of
let's just keep going. I mean, like how we release them can vary, but like for us, like we just keep churning it out. If we can get a podcast recorded, don't put too much pressure on ourselves every other week. Bank up a few and then we can slowly release them. Ideally every week, but like minimum twice a month. That'd be good.
Yeah, nice.
And then other focus points, like I want to start ramping. Currently, we're doing the newsletter once a week as well, right? With Triggerfy, I want to ramp that up to twice a week with mine. Then we have the webinar every other week as well, and that's I think a good marketing cadence to be in. The webinar is more office hours. I think we should kind of frame it as like office hours with me and someone else.
Yeah, and then also I think the podcast, if we don't have someone on a week, we should just record us, what we're doing, stuff like that. Filler episodes, like it's...
Yeah, nice.
It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. Having taken our foot off the gas with the marketing, stuff like the webinars and stuff, and all the stuff we've been doing, you think that people aren't seeing it, but they are.
That's why I'm keen with the newsletter, because we have such a massive newsletter base that we should be doing top of the funnel content on a Monday or a Tuesday, and more bottom of the funnel execution content on either a Wednesday or Thursday, just a couple of day break after the first one.
And then YouTube as well.
And then YouTube on top of that, Substack on top of that as well. We'll do it on people's use of social data across sales, marketing, and product teams. That'll be like the subplots. Use the people that we've already had, Hugo, on previous podcasts as like name dropping, because that will also people will be like, oh, we've had some good guests, right? All right. So why would marketing people use us? Well, lots of reasons really. Brand advocacy, brand monitoring, competitor intelligence. We're building in tons of agentic capabilities in there to get sentiment down to more of a richer level. So rather than having sentiment over a particular post, we can understand sentiment within the context of your company. You can be the marketing brain that basically drives information to the rest of the business. So you could arm all of these other departments with information that comes from social media. Not to mention the fact that you could create agents to help you create content based on what everyone else is saying and what's gaining traction in the market and the industry and everything like that as well. So it's pretty endless from a marketing perspective. Really, the limitation is the imagination. Veg update. Last week, I showed you how we were growing some beans and tomatoes. Anyway, as you can see, the poles in now and everything's starting to grow. Also a little update. We got a puppy. We got this puppy 5 months ago. His name is Moose. He is one of the 2 golden retrievers that I have in this house. The other one is called Bear. So we've got Bear and Moose as the golden retrievers and the mascots for everything. And this is a little bit of a working project that we have going on there. It's a pool that I got for 50 quid off Facebook Marketplace. A nice little like wooden fence around it so it looks a little bit posh. And that will be for the kids as they learn to swim. Now, the other thing is product, right? And with product, it's really interesting because you could tap into essentially everyone talking about your industry, your competitors, your brand, and you can basically run research on anyone who has mentioned anything that's relevant, and then use agents to understand what are the common themes, how many instances are people mentioning similar things, for example, feature requests or whatever it is, and then pull that data out. Now, I've seen other companies reference similar signals, but the challenge is it's not just understanding what people are saying, it's understanding how often they're saying it and contextualizing that across thousands and thousands of posts. And that's the really interesting thing about what we can do. Just because, for example, someone mentions a feature request once with cursor doesn't make it a signal. But if out of 2,000 posts, 60% of these posts are referencing a certain UX or a UI issue or wanting something, then it starts to become a signal. So really what you've got to look at with product data
and marketing and sales data is not a line by line item, right? Which is what a lot of these spreadsheet based tools are doing. It's more understanding what is the context over all of the data in relation to our business. And that is where the insights lie, not in a row by row spreadsheet.
What is it? It's Thursday morning again. It was Thursday morning last time I did some filming. And I'm gonna go to the beach again. Gonna get about once a week I tend to get like a swim in the sea or in the sea pool if it's open. The rest of the week in the mornings I'm usually working out or going for a run and kind of trying to train towards doing a bit of a triathlon and eventually morph that into a bit of Ironman training. But I need to wait for the kids to get a bit older because the amount of training that you need to do for that is quite intense, and I think I just struggle to find the time with work and everything else. Get down. All right, just had a good swim. I didn't really swim much because the puppy keeps wanting to go out quite deep with me and it's just not safe. Let's answer the question, why is social data so important? Love it or hate it, social media is the only place where people are truly themselves because they feel safe, sat behind the keyboard in front of their laptop, which basically means they're gonna interact with anything that resonates with them or not. They're going to post anything that they feel, and no one is forcing them to do anything, which is quite unique. Whereas when you look at other channels, email, things like that, it's more kind of a forced, not forced, but it's more of a reaction. It's more of it's a protocol that you're replying to someone, things like that. Long and short of it is social media is the only place where you can truly understand someone's interests and what they are passionate about or not passionate about, given everything that they're doing or not doing, essentially. Which then basically means, with that in mind, we can really start to understand what people like when it comes to products, what people don't like, what people are saying about brands, what people are saying about other companies, and when they're showing levels of intent that could suggest a time is good to reach out to a prospect from a sales perspective.